Are you wondering what the best properties to invest in 2025 are? I'm going to be breaking down exactly what I'm invested in and, more importantly, what we are finding our investors. We're focusing on high-yielding properties in great areas with strong long-term growth potential. Let's start with investment criteria: yield. Yield is incredibly simple, and yet most people get yield wrong. There is only one definition of yield, which is gross yield, and that is the yearly rent over the purchase price of the property. So for example, if it's £500 a month, times that by 12, that's £6,000, divided by the purchase price of this property, that's 100 grand, and that is a 6% yield. So we want it as a percentage. So for 2025, I want a really strong yield. And what that means for me in my area is a 7% yield. That is a really good investment yield that we're looking at in Yorkshire in particular. And it's really important that what we mean by a strong yield is you're not going too high because the risk of the area can be too high, or too low that you're not actually getting a strong rental return. You don't want to buy a property where if the boiler goes out, you can't even pay for it. Next is target demographic. So at Aspire, we actually have a target criteria, which is all about the type of property, the area, regeneration, growth, existing properties, and the tenant types. But in short, what we're looking for is great properties for young families. We want somebody that's going to treat our house like their home, and they typically want it for longer and look after it as if they own it. Finally, property types. If you've been watching me for a while, you know I only really like freehold or virtual freehold properties. And in short, what this typically means is a house. 2 to 4 bed, semi-detached and terrace properties. We only invest in them because we like the rights to the land underneath it, and they also show the strongest capital growth in the UK. So just to wrap that up, the simple way of looking at this is you want to think about your end customer. We're trying to find boring, vanilla properties that people want to move into and make it their home, which brings me on to location. We've heard it before: location, location, location. Location is everything, and 2025 it becomes even more important. There's so much that's going on a macro scale, and what that means is the politics and the country, investment zones, pumping infrastructure, money going in. And we want to make sure that we're buying properties in locations that are going to benefit from that investment. So we're typically going to be focusing on areas, as I said, with investment and infrastructure, and this often comes around great schools. So one thing we can look at is the Ofsted reports, and we're looking for good or outstanding schools in the area. And again, it's a really good indicator of the quality and type of tenant, and also how long they're going to be living there for. We also want local amenities, and these could be shops, bus stop, train stations, hospitals, and everything in between. Now, I'm not saying you need to buy a property with every single one of those within a 2-minute walk, but just think about it logically, that you're buying something that an end user would like. And so if you've got a property that has good schools around it, good transportation links, a place where they can get their weekly shop within a 5-minute drive, that is going to appeal to a majority of families in the UK. The more people that want to live there in that area, the more demand there's going to be for your property, the more capital growth and the higher yield there's going to be for your return on investment. So whilst yield is really important, when we're looking at investment properties, it's not the cash flow that's going to make you crazy rich. Yes, it's a nice bit of pocket money on a monthly basis, but really it's the capital growth that's going to make you a millionaire. For example, if you've got 100k to invest in property, yes, you can buy a couple of buy-to-lets where I am in Yorkshire. You can buy 2 buy-to-let properties, and that might pay you a few grand each year. But actually, that 100,000 will triple in investment over a 10-year period based on our data and our investment areas. But it's not because of the rent. It's because of the land it's on, the demand, and that translates to capital growth. So these locations in my area, you'll have your central hub, but in Yorkshire, especially West and South Yorkshire, we've got a lot of these central hubs around the South Bank development. The South Bank development is about 350 football pitches in size. It's the second largest residential development in Europe ever. So it's crazy. So it's not just investing in that spot, which is like Hunslet and locations like that, Hare Hills, really good investment areas. It's the trickle down revenue that comes from that. So all of this economy burgeons, it grows. And so you've got Huddersfield, Castleford, locations like that, Halifax, some areas of Bradford and the like, all of this going up in value. And actually we've seen some of our locations hit double-digit returns on a yearly basis. So these properties, they're not just properties that I'm buying for myself. We typically buy around 3 to 5 a month, but we run out of money, right? These obviously require funds, but we also help our investors build these portfolios. We did around 200 properties in 2024. The reason these work so well as an investment opportunity is it's very much about set it and forget it with boring vanilla buy-to-let properties. So this is the hands-free experience for our investors where we're trying to find assets that people want to live in, where there's not just demand today, there's going to be demand for the next few decades. And the idea of these specific properties is passive remains passive, active remains active. So you spent all of these years working hard for your money, and we want to get this money working hard for you. So we like 2 to 4 bed freehold houses in great capital growth areas so that we can get the money working hard for you. And we do this through boring vanilla buy-to-lets. And the reason that Aspire exists is as a service to investors so that the entire sourcing, purchasing, legal, finance, refurbish, and management of the property is as hands-free as it gets. And as we're coming into 2025, a lot of people like you watching this channel want to start building your own portfolios. But we need to make sure you're doing this in the right way. So what we're going to do is open up some free strategy sessions. These are on a first come, first served basis. And the idea of these strategy sessions is to give you a bit of guidance, find out a bit more about where you're at, where you want to get to, not just in 2025, but beyond, and give you some strategic steps to get there. So you need 50 to 100 grand minimum to start investing in your portfolio. If that sounds like you and you want to get off on the right track, put APG in the comments right now. I'll send you a link and you can book in your one-to-one call. I hope it's been valuable. Make sure to hit the subscribe and the notification bell. And if you did get value, tap that like button and I'll see you in the next video.